The outcome of war cannot be determined by tweets. The result of a war is determined in the field, the very place where you and your forces do not dare to approach. It's better to name this war as epic fear instead of epic fury.
Iran turns Washington's own war slogan on its head, openly ridiculing Trump's gamble and casting the entire US campaign as a story of fear rather than fury on the battlefield. Tehran first taunts US leaders in English, then follows up those words with real firepower by striking at the territories and bases of America's closest allies in the region. From Qatar to Bahrain and the UAE, American-aligned Gulf states are now facing the full brunt of Iran's newest generation of missiles and drones, tested in live combat across their skies and bases. Across Israel, sirens blare and civilians rush into shelters in panic as Iran unleashes yet another wave of cluster munitions and missiles that stretch the country's defenses to breaking point. While the IRGC meticulously keeps score of every missile and drone launched, the human cost keeps rising. Overnight on March 16th, Iran carried out the 57th wave of its Operation True Promise 4, directing fresh salvos of missiles at both Israeli territory and key US military bases across the region. According to the IRGC, this latest strike was symbolically dedicated to a 3-day-old baby boy killed in a joint US-Israel bombing, turning the operation into a message of vengeance and mourning. In its statement, the IRGC said it deployed advanced Kheibar Sheikan, Emad, and Qadr missiles during the assault, showcasing a range of precision long-range systems in a single coordinated wave.
Wave 57 of Operation True Promise 4 dedicated to the youngest martyr of the Ramadan war, Mujtaba the 3 days, who attained martyrdom today. In the arms of his mother along with his family, was successfully carried out against targets in the heart of the occupied territories, including command, control and missile defense communication infrastructures with the precise and pinpoint systems of the Kheibar Sheikan and Emad and Qadr and the Udeid base, where American terrorists are located with pinpoint, medium-range, solid and liquid-fueled Zulfikar and QAM missiles and intelligent and destructive drones on the 27th night of the holy month of Ramadan, with the grace of God.
Reports from Doha described loud booms echoing across the city as Iranian missiles targeted the sprawling Al-Udeid air base, the main hub for US operations in the Gulf. Qatari authorities quickly urged residents to move away from windows and glass facades, warning people to stay clear of exposed areas until the immediate threat from incoming fire had passed. Soon after, Qatar confirmed that at least one missile aimed at its territory had been intercepted, stressing that its defenses had responded even as tensions remained high. In Israel, incoming Iranian missiles triggered air raid sirens across central regions and parts of the occupied West Bank, sending residents scrambling for cover once again. Emergency Service Magan David Adam later said it had not received immediate reports of direct missile impacts or serious physical injuries from the latest barrage. However, medics did treat several people who were hurt while rushing toward shelters and others suffering from anxiety and panic attacks triggered by the alarms and explosions. Amid the ongoing strikes, the IRGC released a pointed message in English directed personally at Donald Trump, using his own language to taunt US leadership over the course of the war.
Message to the President of the United States. The outcome of war cannot be determined by tweets. The result of a war is determined in the field, the very place where you and your forces do not dare to approach, and you can only talk about it in your tweets. It's better to name this war as epic fear instead of epic fury.
In a previous phase of the campaign, the IRGC Navy carried out a combined missile and drone assault aimed at US military infrastructure, targeting ammunition depots and key support hubs.
Iran's surprises not only include powerful weaponry but also the method of delivering crushing blows to the enemy. At dawn today, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy, in a precise and powerful operation, targeted the central ammunition depot of the American terrorist air base in Dhafra. Massive explosions occurred at this base, leading to its near destruction and forcing the American terrorists to evacuate their fighter jets to other bases located farther away. The 55th wave of Operation True Promise 4 struck targets deep within the occupied territories, including military weapons production centers, aerospace facilities, and aerial refueling support hubs, using precision-guided heavy hypersonic missiles, Fattah, Emad, and Qadr, as well as kamikaze drones. Additionally, U.S. military bases located in Dhafra Air Base, Juffair Naval Base, and Sheikh Isa Air Base were hit with medium-range, solid-fuel, precision-guided missiles, Fattah, Zulfikar, and Desfal, along with advanced smart and suicide drones. By God's grace, all operations were successfully executed. Iran's air defenders, in the past few hours, detected and destroyed 2 American Zionist reconnaissance combat drones over the skies of Tehran and Jam, prior to the operations, using the IRGC's advanced new air defense system integrated within the National Air Defense Network. The brave men of the Iranian armed forces, in retaliation for the crimes of the American Zionist enemy, began drone attacks against key and strategic weapons production centers of Rafael and Israel aerospace industries, striking vital military-industrial sites. Continuing the dominance of Iran's military firepower in recent days, satellite images show that over 80% of the long-range radar systems and critical targets of U.S. terrorist bases have been destroyed by the armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The 56th wave of Operation True Promise 4 struck enemy targets in the occupied lands, including the Southern Regional Command Headquarters and the strategic missile stockpile depots of Rafael in the north of the occupied territories, as well as the American terrorist base in Udeid, using heavy precision-guided Khorramshahr, Emad, and Qadr missile systems. At the same time, IRGC drone units launched deadly strikes against positions of anti-revolutionary groups in Erbil.
Since February 28th, the IRGC is reported to have launched roughly 700 missiles and around 3,600 drones at US and Israeli targets, signaling a sustained, high-tempo offensive. Israel, for its part, says that more than 3,000 people have been injured since its war with Iran erupted, a figure that reflects both direct strikes and the chaos of repeated alerts. All of this is unfolding as Israel reportedly informed Washington that its stockpile of missile interceptors is running critically low, raising urgent questions about how long it can sustain defense at this pace. According to reports citing US officials, Washington has known for months that Israel's interceptor capacity was dangerously limited, yet the problem remained unresolved as the conflict escalated. American sources insist the US itself is not running short on interceptors and argue that Washington must prioritize protecting its own strategic interests before supplying more to Israel. Analysts warn that a truly critical shortage for Israel could mean falling to fewer than 10 interceptor missiles, leaving large areas essentially exposed to incoming fire. Israeli officials say they are coming up with solutions to address the reported shortage, but details of how they plan to quickly rebuild their defensive shield remain vague.